Beneath the dust of forgotten millennia lies a dark and startling truth about human civilization. We like to think of progress as a neat, linear staircase marching steadily toward the modern age. But the real story of our greatest breakthroughs is far more brutal, tangled, and bizarre than we ever imagined. Consider the most ubiquitous object in your daily life. It roams beneath your car, spins in industrial machinery, and carries the weight of global commerce without a second glance. Yet, the creation of the first wheel on Earth was not a triumph of sudden genius. It was born from an agonizingly long, dark struggle against an invisible enemy that nearly choked human progress in its cradle. That enemy is friction. Imagine standing on a desolate, sun-baked plain thousands of years ago. You are tasked with moving a massive 5-ton boulder across the uneven earth. You have 50 exhausted people pulling with bleeding hands, straining every muscle in their bodies. The ropes bite deep into their shoulders, and the air is thick with the scent of sweat and despair. Despite every ounce of effort, the boulder barely inches forward. Why? Because the raw, unforgiving bottom of that colossal rock is grinding mercilessly against the dirt. Friction is swallowing almost every fraction of human energy you throw at it, turning your muscle power into useless heat. For thousands of years of settled agriculture, this was the grim reality of human existence. People dragged heavy loads on primitive sledges made of rough wood and animal fat. They greased the runners with rancid tallow, hoping to ease the unbearable drag. But the energy wasted was staggering, burning through human and animal bodies just to move grain a few miles down the road. And here lies the darkest mystery of the wheel. Why did it take humanity so long to figure out such a simple concept? Think about the shocking timeline of our technological awakening. Humans mastered fire hundreds of thousands of years ago. We built ocean-crossing boats more than 60,000 years ago. We crafted precision bows and arrows that stored deadly kinetic energy millennia before any wheel touched the dirt. We farmed crops, built sprawling cities, and baked intricate pottery long before anyone dared to build a transport wheel. Why did the wheel show up almost last? The answer shatters the comforting illusion that ancient people were simply waiting for inspiration to strike. The wheel is not the simple invention you think it is. It is quite literally one of the hardest, most complex traps humanity ever had to escape. The real obstacle was never the round disc itself. A rolling log is easy to spot in nature, but a log cannot carry a platform. The moment you try to attach a stable vehicle body to a rolling cylinder, you face a terrifying engineering paradox. You need an axle. You need a shaft running right through the center of a spinning wheel, connecting it to a non-spinning frame. And that axle demands tolerances so precise that a fraction of a millimeter means total structural failure. Make the hole too tight, and the brutal grip of friction locks the wheel solid, freezing the cart in place. Make the hole too loose, and the wheel wobbles wildly, catching on the rough terrain and shattering under the heavy load. Imagine trying to achieve this microscopic precision without metal tools, without lathers, and without electricity. You have only stone, bone, and raw wood. Historians have uncovered the dark, grueling reality behind this craftsmanship. The first wheels were not built by casual tinkerers or accidental dreamers. They were forged by master woodworkers whose families had spent generations perfecting the brutal art of joinery. It took centuries of accumulated skill, passed down through blood and sweat, just to carve a round hole and a matching shaft that could survive the journey. But the mystery deepens even further when we look at the natural world. Look closely at every living creature on Earth. You will find wings for flight, fins for swimming, and legs for running. But you will never find a true wheel in nature. Evolution has produced countless marvels of engineering, yet it has never created a living, breathing organism with a freely spinning wheel and axle. Why? Because a spinning component detached from the main body would instantly sever every blood vessel and nerve connection. Biomechanically, a biological wheel is an absolute impossibility. This means the wheel had no natural model for humans to copy. Every other major invention in human history was stolen from the living world. Boats were inspired by floating logs. Shelters were copied from animal nests. Cutting tools were derived from sharp thorns and fractured rocks. But the wheel came from nowhere. It was entirely a phantom of human imagination, conjured from a void with zero examples in the living biosphere. When the first functional wheels finally emerged from the shadows of history, They were heavy, menacing monuments of raw wood. Archaeologists pulling ancient relics from European marshes discovered wheels carved from thick ash wood, joined together by wooden pegs. These heavy wooden circles weighed up to 50 kilograms each. Paired with a heavy wooden axle and a cargo platform, the rolling gear alone weighed close to 100 kilograms before a single grain of wheat was loaded. The draft animals were not just pulling cargo. They were hauling an absolute nightmare of dead weight across unforgiving landscapes. Yet, once the secret was unleashed, it spread across the ancient world with terrifying speed. From Mesopotamia to the Pontic Caspian steppe, ancient communities rushed to harness this revolutionary power. Linguistic evidence reveals that nearly all Indo-European languages share a common ancient root for wheel and axle. This proves that the technology swept across the plains before those languages even split apart. Traders carried the wheel across treacherous mountain passes, risking their lives to spread the gospel of mobility. Blacksmiths and woodworkers guarded their secrets like sacred magic. The wheel changed the very geometry of human settlement, turning isolated pockets of humanity into interconnected webs of empire. Roads were carved through ancient forests specifically because the hungry wheel demanded a smooth path. The Roman Empire paved 400 kilometers of stone highways simply to feed the insatiable appetite of wheel transport. Without the wheel, the logistics of empire building would have collapsed under their own weight. But the darkest transformation of the wheel happened when it met the crucible of war. For 1,100 years, the wheel remained a lumbering diand attached to slow ox carts. Then, around Tangin BC near the Ural Mountains, everything changed in a flash of violence. Innovation struck like lightning when someone invented the spoked wheel. By carving out the heavy solid wood and replacing it with slender, tension-balanced spokes, inventors dropped the weight of the wheel to a mere fraction of its former self. The heavy, lumbering ox cart was suddenly reborn as an instrument of absolute terror. Paired with newly domesticated horses, the spoked wheel birthed the chariot. The chariot was the first true high-speed weapon platform in human history. Imagine standing in the front lines of a Bronze Age army, holding a fragile bronze spear and a wooden shield. Over the dusty horizon, a swarm of lightweight chariots erupts into view, thundering across the earth at terrifying speeds. Warriors stand aboard these moving platforms, drawing composite bows and raining upon you from 100 meters away. You cannot outrun them. You cannot catch them. You can only stand frozen in terror, watching the dust storm swallow your formation whole. This military revolution created a ruthless new aristocracy of kings and warlords. The battlefield transformed into a slaughterhouse ruled by speed and engineering dominance. The largest chariot battle in history, the Battle of Kadesh, saw thousands of these machines clashing in brutal harmony, all built upon that same basic principle conceived millennia earlier. Every empire that embraced the wheel rose to dizzying heights of conquest. Every civilization that lacked the vital ingredients faded into the background of history. Yet, the story of the wheel holds another astonishing twist. While Europe and Asia plunged headfirst into the age of wheel transport, an entire half of the globe remained completely untouched by it. Look at the magnificent pre-Columbian civilizations of the Americas. The Maya built towering pyramids and sprawling cities housing hundreds of thousands of people. The Aztecs constructed magnificent water empires. The Inca carved over 30,000 kilometers of stone roads across the dizzying peaks of the Andes. And yet, none of them had wheeled vehicles. How is this possible? Did these brilliant architects somehow miss the concept entirely? The answer is both bizarre and heartbreaking. Archaeologists digging in ancient Mexican sites have uncovered tiny ceramic animal toys fitted with fully functional wheels and axles. The indigenous peoples of Mesoamerica clearly understood the mathematical and mechanical principle of the wheel. They built working miniature models of it for their children. So why did they never scale it up into full-size carts? The cruel hand of extinction had stripped the American continents of draft animals thousands of years prior. There were no horses, no oxen, and no sturdy beasts of burden capable of pulling heavy loads. Without an animal to pull it, a heavy wheeled cart is nothing more than an agonizing trap you have to push entirely by yourself. Pushing a heavy cart across unpaved wilderness with no roads is infinitely harder than carrying the load on your own back. The wheel is not just a standalone object. It is an interdependent system requiring flat roads, draft animals, advanced carpentry, and reliable lubricants. Take away even one piece of that system, and the wheel collapses into absolute uselessness. The Inca conquered a continent without a single wheel, relying on human endurance and llama caravans because that was all their ecosystem allowed. But where the conditions aligned, the wheel transcended transportation entirely. Once humanity unlocked rotational motion, we begin seeing the spinning circle hidden inside everything. The water wheel captured the kinetic fury of rushing rivers, converting raw nature into mechanical power to grind grain without human sweat. Gears transformed into complex astronomical clocks, mapping the stars and anchoring the foundation of modern navigation and science. Pulleys lifted monuments that defied human muscle. Flywheels and steam engines sparked the Industrial Revolution, breathing iron and fire into the lungs of the modern world. Every single factory, locomotive, turbine, and automobile on Earth today is a direct descendant of that single, desperate breakthrough made 5,000 years ago. A round piece of wood turning on a shaft, carved by hands long turned to dust. It was not an easy invention. It was not a gift from nature. It was a brutal battle against friction, won by human stubbornness against impossible odds. We have traded ash wood for carbon fiber and animal fat for synthetic lubricants, but the core mechanism has never changed. The next time you look at a spinning tire on the asphalt, remember the terrifying journey it took to get there. It is perhaps the most consequential, hard-won thing humanity ever built completely from scratch. If you want to uncover more hidden histories that shaped our world, hit subscribe right now. Leave your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what ancient mystery we should decode next.